Now, the top news that we are tracking for you comes in from the courtrooms. The Supreme Court of India continues day 2 of hearing the Sabarimala reference, where larger issues concerning restriction of entry of women to Dargah, practice of FGM and excommunication in the Dawoodi Bohra and excommunication of Parsi women after marrying a non-Parsi man have been raised. The arguments and counter-arguments have been a fierce battle, with Solicitor General Tushar Mehta stating, and I quote here, "The majority definition was followed in the Sabarimala, and in my respectful submission, it is an incorrect definition of denomination." The words religious denomination in Article 26 of the Constitution must take their colour from the word religion. And if this be so, the expression religious denomination must also satisfy 3 conditions. And I quote here, it must be a collection of individuals who has a system of beliefs or doctrine which they regard as conducive to their spiritual well-being, that is a common faith. The second one is common organization. And the third one is designation by a distinctive name. Let's in fact take a look at the Supreme Court's top observation up till now in this entire case. Let's look at how the top court is actually looking at this case of women in religious places. So, we are taking you through some of the points that have come to the fore right now. The Supreme Court is saying that the term essential is not there in the Constitution. So, this is the first major statement that is in fact coming in from the Supreme Court. It is also stated that can courts decide what is superstition in religious matters? This is a question that is being raised, that if courts can actually decide what is superstition in religious matters, because it is obviously a very sensitive issue that the courts and the judges have to deal with. Now, Article 25 and 26 must be examined in constitutional light. So, this is also something that is coming to the fore, that Article 25 and 26 have to be looked at in the constitutional framework as well. Now, protection to religion has to be seen from state intervention angle. So, this is something that the Supreme Court and the Apex Court is also stating. Remember that this is a 9-judge bench. So, there are people and judges from representing various facets of life, and they have said that we are trying to define religion and religious denomination. This is another big statement that is in fact coming out of this hearing. If practice shocks conscience like human sacrifice, no further adjudication needed. So, they are making the statement that if it presents shock, the practice is shocking, then it does not require any more adjudication. The court cannot replace itself with expertise of subject experts in such cases. So, they are also mentioning that they are not going to replace the experts who are present in this subject. Now, the moment practice is contrary to public order, morality or health court will say so. So, they are also in fact saying that if there are some practices that defy moral order, the court will in fact look at those as well. Joining us on this special broadcast is Advocate Swati Jindal Garg, who is the AOR of the Supreme Court, and we have Brinda Adige, who is a women's rights activist. Thank you so much to the both of you for taking out your time and for speaking to NewsX. First, to understand the legal perspective of this entire issue, let me go across to Advocate Garg on this. Ma'am, if you can help our viewers understand these statements that we listed out from the Apex Court, because this is a significant hearing. Will we see some changes in society? Do you think that legally, if we are given the way, there can be some changes in the society per se?
See, this concept or this issue pertaining to the Sabarimala entry to women, it is focusing on basically new focus is being put by the Supreme Court's 9-judge constitution bench. The hearings have begun yesterday only, and they're expected to last throughout the month. Now, during this latest review that has been taken up by the court, there is basically a clash between Article 25 and 26 that needs to be sorted out. While 25 talks about an individual's right to freedom to exercise his religion, 26 also talks about the rights of a denomination to uphold their religious practices. Now, here on the one hand, we have a woman saying that why, if I belong to an age group between 10 years to 50 years, why is it that I'm being discriminated against? Why am I not being allowed to enter the Ayyappa temple? On the other hand, the denomination of Ayyappa worshippers, they say that, well, we are a denomination, and our stance is that owing to the unique nature of our deity, who's a brahmachari, we cannot allow the entry of people, of women who are in the menstrual age, that is 10 years of age to 50 years of age. Now, while we have statements coming from Justice B.V. Nagaratna, who happens to be the only female judge on the bench, who has remarked yesterday that women cannot be treated as untouchables only for 3 days in a month, reacting to certain arguments about the previous bar on menstruating women, we cannot ignore the center's defense, which is based purely on custom, where we have the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta arguing that the entry restriction is rooted in the celibate nature of Lord Ayyappa. You have to understand that here we have a whole denomination that states that we are banning the entry of these women of a particular age not on the basis of their gender. So this is not gender discrimination per se. We are banning their entry because of the nature of our deity, who is a brahmachari. Center has also want that a narrow definition of essential religious practices would harm the diverse nature of Hinduism. So if there are certain religious practices that have in fact taken the form of a custom, and they are being followed for a long period of time, can the court in fact interfere? So here in this review, we also another marked change that has been noticed is the shift of the Kerala government. So initially the Kerala government was all for allowing women an entry into the temple. Now, in a major change from their earlier position, the Kerala government also supports the review of the earlier judgment. It is now aligning with those who wish to uphold the temple traditions. So, we need to see now, there has to be, like I said, primarily a balance has to be imposed between an individual's right to practice their religion vis-a-vis the right of a denomination.
Okay.
Now, whether the court is going to take the Ayyappa devotees to be a denomination per se or not remains a question that is to be seen.